Oh my goodness. It's another episode of Power Moves, Health Marketing Podcast. You got me, your girl, Lauren Powers, of course. And we have one of my boos in the studio. There is a foxy little redhead in the studio if you're looking on YouTube. It's true. I've got my girl, Sinclair Kennally. I don't know if you'll give me credit, but I think I coined you as the queen of detox. And it snaps, okay? She is a detox expert. She's a traditional naturopath. She's a business mogul. She's a cat owner. Ew. And she's so a spiritual friend, an energetic healer. Truly, really, if y'all are listening and looking for an intention or something to get out of this, truly what the word resilience truly means in business and in life and in lots of other ways. So we're going to have a great discussion today. Welcome, Sinclair.
Thanks, babe. I'm happy to be here.
You look good, girl. How you doing?
I'm great. This is so fun to do and be on your show, on your stage.
I know, we haven't had a chance to just, be on each other's, stages where we could just talk. So, y'all, we may just go in and out of, talking to each other. So sorry. Just stay on the train with us. So, Sinclair, so you have this most, I love your business model. Detox Nation, you guys are out.
My business model?
Well, it's fine that sometimes we know and sometimes we don't know. We step in and out of, the reality of what am I building? But
what am I doing? Yeah, what do I do for a living? Yeah.
You're building a community. And I want to really, talk about how you have gotten to this, this point in your career where you've built this community, y'all. When we actually kind of get into the numbers, this lady is affecting on a monthly basis. Well, we're not talking about on a daily basis, but on a monthly basis, potentially hundreds of thousands of lives with the content you put out, with the community that you have, with, the different programs. You're making every possible effort to be seen so you can heal people. So I'm telling y'all, be inspired about this story about resilience. But what I do know, Sinclair, is that it didn't start that way. And, I don't know if you were just one of those privileged kids that trust fund kids that was able to just get money from daddy so you can open a business. I'm curious, how did you even get started with this detox community that you created? How did we get there?
Ooh, that's a really good question. How long is this?
We've got all the time we need.
The short answer is I did it the hard way. So
anybody out there the hard way? I love the hard way.
I like to try things that don't work first. So the truth is I actually am a fourth generation entrepreneur. My great grandfather was a soap maker. He did that on the side in his garage on weekends. And his son, my grandfather, was his first employee and his only employee, and he would help make the soap and then deliver it. So I know.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And his wife was a music teacher. And she was actually the music teacher for all the crooners back in the 50s.
Is that why you have such a jazzy, swoony stage voice? Oh yeah, she can sing too. I'm sure we'll get to that point of her journey.
Opera singer. Yeah, nothing to write home about. Anyway, so, yeah, not a good student. So I grew up with that, Oh, that's 4 generations of being told, hey, if you work for somebody else, you better have a side hustle or you're a sucker. Mm-hmm. Because don't put your life and your family's well-being into someone else's hands. This is because you don't want to build somebody else's dreams. But I also grew up watching my dad, crawl into bed at night after he took off his work boots because he'd been standing on the factory floor all day and he literally could not stand any longer. So that's the kind of work ethic that I came from. So definitely not trust fund, more like the scrappy, let's try it. Ooh, this is harder than we thought style.
Let's keep doing it.
Double down.
Let's go for it. This is the way.
Yeah.
So you it's in your blood. It's in your DNA to have your own stuff. Do you think you're employable?
Absolutely not.
Can you imagine? Oh my God! I cannot.
Someone trying to employ me.
I don't even know how who would be the right person to employ either one of us. But and if you're listening, you have to know yourself, right? And as you're trying to create your own way and form your life, and if you know that you just not going to work, you better make that business work for you.
Mm-hmm. And to be honest with yourself when your business model isn't working, because my first business was selling seashells at the beach with
Wait,
puffy
wait,
paint on them.
like the rhyme? Like there is a nursery rhyme I grew up with Sally sells. Do you know what I'm talking about? What it's not? It's a
Yeah.
tongue twister.
Yeah.
Sally sells,
Well,
she sells by the
seashells by the
seashore.
seashore. Right. Yeah.
So
No.
Sinclair. So we can now all change it to Sinclair sells seashells by the seashore.
Yeah. So I wrote my cousin into doing this with me, and we would go find the shells, and then we'd put puffy paint designs on them, and then we'd sit out there and we'd make people feel bad until they bought stuff from us.
How old were you?
Oh, like 5, I mean.
Oh, great. Scrappy indeed.
Yeah.
So that you said that was a failed model, though.
Yeah, we were just basically waiting until my grandpa gave in and came out and bought something because he always had cash in his pockets. We were like, just take pity on us so that we can go play again.
Just give me just $1, sir. Just one.
Yeah, I was doing 2-for-1 deals. I was doing buy one, get one free, and these little signs.
with puffy painted seashells by the seashore.
And I would try to mix that in with a saving the world model. So like when, this was the 80s. Remember growing up in the 80s, my dad was really worried about like the humpback whales being hunted, major environmentalist. And so I remember him sitting me down and talking to me about how important it was to be a good environmental steward. And I was like, yes, definitely. I will take that on. I will just save the planet. I'm got it done, handled, Dad. You've delegated. Excellent job. So I was like everything I did, I was trying to like save a whale or a tiger or a starving child. I'd be like, buy this for me, and then I'll donate to the thing. And
Oh my gosh! So bleeding heart entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Excellent.
The sucker born every minute, and that's me.
But you didn't give up though. So the seashells didn't really work out.
Yeah.
So we don't have a seashell empire. There's no seashell nation.
No.
So what was next after that for our young little ginger redheaded Sinclair?
Let's see. Oh, I think there were a couple of things. I would like babysit and do house sitting around the neighborhood, but I was homeless for a couple of very formative years in my teens where I chose to be trying to living out of my car and put myself through junior college. That didn't end very well. So I had to like pull myself up and talk myself into a job that I was wildly underqualified for in order to, get housing.
And what was this job? You were at the university?
No, it was an interior design assistant. And
Oh.
I just walked in like I already had the job and pretended that they had a paperwork issue.
That's so you. This is so you. Like even
when you're young, you're so dumb. You think,
you're right. Yeah.
Anything's going to work. And I had just moved to New York because I had sold that car that I was living out of. And so I literally had the only money I had in the world was the money from this car that was my house. So I had to get an apartment. And I was trying to put myself through, city college, and because just to be in New York. Because, when you're
that's
18,
the dream.
That sounds like a really smart idea.
This
is going to work out fine, Yeah.
The dream.
Yeah. So that's how that happened. It was necessity.
So we have migrated now. We're in New York. Seashells are gone. We're no longer homeless.
I'm never going to live that down with you, am I?
We just like blazed on by the homeless years. So that'll be in another episode where we double click on that. But,
Yeah, we don't need to go into trauma today.
Correct. Right. We're keeping high vibes. Okay, y'all. That's why I was like, let's bring this up a bit. So we're in New York. We're trying to we're not hoeing our way to an apartment, are we?
No, ma'am. No.
Okay, because we're not above that either, guys. But that is another episode. But how are we like? Is this when you started to get into your healing bag, where you were starting to explore like the naturopath stuff? Like, when did that all start?
So the first certification I ever got was as a resonance repatterning practitioner when I was putting myself through City College. And I realized that I wanted to tell deeply impactful stories because I wanted to help heal whole groups of people at a time. Because I was watching what was happening in these, I would save up all my pennies. I was living in a studio apartment, in New York City, and living on like a cup of oatmeal that I stole from work every day and a cup of hot chocolate from work that was supposed to be like snacks for.
You're like, nah, this is dinner, bro.
Yeah, it is. And then like a
Give me that
slice or $1.35 slice for lunch and dinner. So, I was living on like less than $5 a day.
Can you imagine these kids now, girl, or college
being
students
scrappy enough to do that?
$5? Are you kidding me?
Mm,
Girl.
I
Yeah,
know,
you
and
have it in
I
you.
thought that was a lot, you know? I thought I was really splurging on
You were
myself getting
splurging for
second
5?
slice of pizza for dinner, yeah. I
Oh,
was
look
like,
at Sinclair
Where's
now.
handing out free food? Like, I why doesn't the city have more free food?"
Oh my god, girl.
Yeah. So, anyway, um, I was saving all my pennies to do these weekend workshops for these transformational processes. I was learning about yoga and, chakras and meridians and frequency therapies, and I thought it was really fascinating, and what I noticed was people healed much faster in groups than they
Mhm.
did in the one-to-one sessions with these practitioners before and after these events. And I was like, that's what I want to do. So I applied to NYU to be a theater director. And I was one of 5 kids that got in as a transfer student to it's the only undergrad director program in the country. So I built, I was like working 2 jobs on the side and actually surrounded by trust fund kids suddenly, which was very weird.
Oh my
'Cause they just
god.
pull out their black card, and I was like, "What is going
What
on?"
kind of card is that? Yeah.
Yeah. "Why are we doing this? This is so weird." Yeah. So
But
then I
really
felt
quick
like,
though, during this time, Sinclair, were you having any health challenges or anything yourself? Because this
oh,
is
yeah,
what
I
you're
was getting
this in your 20s.
oh, yeah, I was getting very weird very fast.
Because I imagine that's probably why you started to explore the healing modalities because you were in that falling apart.
Yeah. So when I was little, I was always on the sensitive side. Became a very picky eater and, like, would react to stuff. Like, you couldn't put a new shirt on me without washing it, or I'd get a big rash. It was just like, "Oh, that's our genes. We're sensitive." And so I didn't really think anything of it. I definitely had undiagnosed pandas in
Mm.
late elementary school, started getting behavioral challenges, and junior high got a full-blown eating disorder that got so bad that I was invited to not return to public school because it was a danger to myself and others before getting treatment. So that I didn't finish freshman year of high school.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I was always fascinated by, like, the Louise Hay books and, like, the anatomy books. And, my mom, like, defected from her Catholic upbringing was, like, all into New Age stuff. So I was, like, very hungry for what is the healing modality that makes sense? Where will I see myself? How can I get my sense of self back? So that was like a lifelong just hobby and exploration for me anyway. And I got into a series of car accidents in high school where I was kind of testing the boundaries of should I stay or should I go? And I ended up trying to commit suicide a couple of times.
Oh,
And so I had a
man.
lot of physical pain as a young woman. And one of the reasons I was working multiple jobs was so that I could pay for a chiropractor and physical therapy and all that stuff. But
Mhm, mhm.
so that was what was really, I had all these layers and reasons for um, needing to know at a very personal, visceral level, what are the tools that work? Because therapy ain't doing it.
And
Physical
life is not
therapy ain't doing
supposed to
it.
be like this, yeah.
Life is not supposed to be this hard, right? And I was a very happy kid. And then I went to suicidal and just in a period of a couple of years. And my home life was very difficult, but lots of kids' or home lives are very difficult and they don't
Mhm,
end up suicidal.
mhm.
It did not, something felt very, very off.
In
And
your
so,
body. Yeah.
yeah. So when you look back at it, it's so clear now. It's like, the toxins that we were getting exposed to as kids, the
Mhm.
vaccine schedule. I definitely was not a good excreter to begin with. And I definitely became more sensitive after certain shots. It was very interesting. I got very depressed and anxious after my first mercury amalgam fillings got put in my teens, and all that panda stuff from that repeated strep. So it's
Yep,
nothing unusual for our generation. In fact, all of us, this has happened to. It
yep,
just came to the forefront for me earlier, I think, than other people. It shows up
yeah.
for everybody differently. But I was fascinated by this stuff and what is it going to take to heal? I became a Reiki master at 19. I was like sitting at the feet of these Japanese guy, in New York City, because it was just like there's so much available to you
Oh, yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So I was trying to figure it all out. And yeah, I don't know what the question was anymore.
Well,
But
no, because I was asking what about your own health challenges, obviously, because you've had a very, like, interesting, like, earlier, life and entrance into entrepreneurship, and even which had nothing to do, with chronic illness or detox or your current platforms, and even the major that you picked in school, has nothing to do with, what I see as like your life's like mission, right now. So when did that even become clear?
Funny to me because it all seems like the same thing to me. How do you
Really?
get really good? Yeah, how do you get really good at providing a transformational experience for a group of people in a short period of time? How do you get them to want it and ask for it and then provide that for them in a way that is not the problem with most healing experiences at a group level is the people are fundamentally misunderstanding it. They're trying to push an experience onto their audience or their community instead of inviting somebody to have an experience of themselves. That is why our community works. Because I don't need you to meet my goal for you. I want you to come in and use the structure of our healing experience to have an experience of yourself.
Yeah.
That you want. What do you want to have happen? Do you want to get back your resilience, your, positivity, your sense of humor? Do you want to get stronger? Do you want to become less reactive? Do you want to leave histamine sensitivity behind? Do you want to get out your worms? All of it's fine with me. I just want you to have what you want for yourself. And that's what makes a great storyteller or theater director or healer.
It is. Yeah.
It's all the same skill set, actually.
So you were working on that skill set for how many years? Because you were traveling with the troupe.
Yeah. So I
like you actually did the thing. Like you were direct.
Yeah, I had one of those downtown theater groups. Where we were living off of grants and hopes and dreams, and everybody's working 2 jobs. I literally worked like 18, 20 hours a day. And then you wonder why your body crashes.
Or why you're still sick.
Doing this? I don't get it. We're all just weird and caffeinated and mean, and it's fine. It's part of being a New Yorker.
No, ma'am. But you were building. So I know you did the theater thing for many, many years. But even during that time, weren't you even starting to get more and more into the the holistic and the functional?
Yeah, that was one of my
stuff?
side jobs. Is I was building a side practice. I was building a practice. Yeah.
Yeah.
At the time, energy work, and then I went back and got certified for somatic trauma release therapy, and because I majored in art therapy, and
of course you did. Of course you did, guys. Anyone's shocked by this?
No, it's fine. I know.
Are we shocked?
That's what I mean. It's all the same thing to me. So, I felt like I was at my best when I was providing an experience for somebody that helped them move stuck stuff out of their bodies. And I thought that was what all healing stemmed from, was trauma release. And all you have is a hammer. Everything looks like a nail, just like every surgeon just wants to cut. It's kind of like that. It's not that it's not valuable. It is tremendously valuable, but it's only one tool of many, and it's only one root cause. So I was getting sicker and sicker and weirder. And by that, I mean, like, the stronger your symptoms, the more your life shrinks to the shape of your symptoms.
Yeah.
And so you're thinking, because it's happening so slowly, that it's just your temperament. Like, oh, I'm just impatient now. That's just kind of who I am. I just get right to the point, and you kind of turn it into a joke, or I'm just really, strong-headed. But no, it's my liver shutting down.
Oh, God. I'm just a bitch. What's that? Is it my kidneys? Or is it my heart? Is it my soul? Can you tell me? Is there a test for that? But what were you experiencing? Like, what was going on in your body, like, that was having you so chronically ill?
Well, I had a very slow progression of what was diagnosed as, early onset rheumatoid arthritis and fibromyalgia. And I think that it was a combination of holding myself in weird ways from the car accidents, and also having severe gut dysfunction from a small child onward, and it not being noticed, honestly. We were in that generation where you just get amoxicillin for everything, right? I had like dozens of earaches as a kid. They wanted to put tubes in my ears. So, my gut did not have a fighting chance.
Right,
and I lived on like bagels, I didn't know what a vegetable was. So I had no like microbiome diversity. I didn't have like resilience, and that inflammation started to show up in a very systemic way. And so I would walk around hobbled over. And, by the time I ended up in the hospital, I couldn't even make it to the back of my own office building.
Oh,
Yeah, I had to like stop and, kind of pretend to my employees that, oh yeah, you're the one I want to talk to. I was really just resting because I couldn't stand any longer. And my brain
girl, you
thought,
lucky you wasn't in my house because my dad had been like, stand up straight, girl, you're fine. Go ahead and just walk. What's wrong with you, girl? Like, I could just imagine. Like,
totally. I actually think that's how I ended up in the hospital because I totally came from that too. Like, you'll
nobody
push through.
believed you.
You'll rest when you're dead. You're fine.
Good Lord. I actually prefer to rest in the Maldives, okay? If you-
Balance.
It doesn't have to be that, but it's hard. Yes. So your body, like you were like conditioning your body, unknowingly conditioning your body over your childhood and growing up to not fight illness and like to just kind of like, kind of take it.
Well, yeah, and the more you understand about the nervous system, the more it makes sense. Like all of us entrepreneurs, like have you read that book Driven or Drive by Doug? What's his name? I'm gonna totally butcher it. But
I know, please don't quote him directly, but yes.
no, I'm not going
Drive.
to. I don't know.
It's Driven. It's fine.
He's a really good man. I really appreciate him. I'm
Yeah.
definitely not making fun of him. I like what he says about how we're really driven. And the thing is, the more you understand about the nervous system, the more it makes sense. Those guys that work so hard and then as soon as they retire, they drop dead. Well, putting yourself into sympathetic overdrive is its own form of painkiller. It's an anesthesia for the body. So you don't notice what's happening physically until you no longer can afford to ignore it. And your body has an event. It's almost like it creates an event to say, you cannot be in sympathetic overdrive anymore because there are no resources left. So we either stop and you feel the pain or you die. Which one would you prefer? And that's what happened to me. So I thought I was saving the world, trying to build up this big practice. I'd met Michael by this time. He had his own practice that he was building. He was trying to save the world in his own way, with this rapid change work therapy stuff. And, we were really happy, but we could not figure out what was wrong with us physically.
Yeah. And there's a lot of, if anyone's connecting with this, like, being a business owner and being responsible for a team and for clients and not being healthy in your body is such a recipe for stalling you out. It'll keep your business stuck. It'll make it so unhappy to be a part of your own, place of business because you're just unhealthy in your body. Like that has to be so hard.
Yeah, and the thing about it is you can't have a day off when you're an entrepreneur. Not really, until you build the safety of a team around you that has your back and the structure can hold itself. But in the beginning stages of any business, you are the walking, living, breathing structure of the business. And the problem with that is you have a choice every single day. Am I going to take care of my own body? Or am I going to take care of this business at the expense of my body? And that looks like the false binary for most of us. So we think we're being responsible by taking care of everyone else so that we can finally get to a quality of life where we can take care of ourselves. But the problem is you're making worse and worse decisions along the way as you do that because you're feeling less and less well. You cannot navigate that with a dysregulated nervous system. I took on investors I never should have worked with. I put up with clients that I never should have let have access to my energy because I was feeling less and less well and making less and less good decisions because of it.
Because your head wasn't screwed on straight, basically, at the time. Poor thing. And
Yeah.
even still, though, you still were very resilient and you still were able, you and Michael were still able to, make your business. But what happened when you guys kind of joined forces and, I know you had a business first and had to go through some restructuring. What was that period of time like?
Well, we both had our own practices when we met. And, I was coming out of a long relationship and, he was ready to start life together. And I was like, I don't think you really
What?
want to hang out with me. I'm a whole lot more work than you know.
Right. Right. Yeeks.
Yeah. So he kind of chased me for a year. And then we finally moved in together. And the problem was we put the Wi-Fi router right under the bed. This is a very small, very sweet house in Portland. And I remember thinking, oh, the Wi-Fi router has to be in the bedroom. That's not good. This is the only option for it in the house. Well, the lights will keep us up. We'll protect our sleep by putting it under the bed.
Okay.
And that's when we both really crashed.
Really? The EMFs?
Yeah, because the Wi-Fi will upregulate pathogenic species, so they'll bloom faster, like E. coli, strep, staph, all that. And it'll downregulate reproduction of keystone species that you have to have, like lactobacillus, like, the good stuff.
Oh my God, you're such a geek. Like, ew. Bacteria. Like, this is a fun podcast, okay? All that science.
You asked what went wrong.
I know. I was like, I didn't know you were going to start speaking Latin. But yes, I got you. I got you. So it disrupted everything in your body. And you guys didn't even realize that was the root cause, as they say.
Yeah, and I would just freak out all day long. And, I thought it was just that stage of business building was hard and scary. And I was trying to break through so that I could get enough support around me. Because being the figurehead of a business is as you know, a tremendous emotional
responsibility
and drain. Yeah, and if you don't have good boundaries, you live and die by that. It's astonishing.
And I'm just thinking so the trajectory for you guys was you had to heal yourself. Because I feel like that was part of this, when you guys really got fully healed, that's probably when your biggest breakthrough came. I don't know if the timeline matches exactly, but what was kind of your rock bottom moment in business where you had to kind of rebuild your health, your body, your business, your house?
I only picked just one?
I mean, we'll have to do on the next episode. So, the one. I know mine was when I was on my floor on all fours because I had negative $13,000 in my bank account and I had to pay payroll. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I'll just have a panic attack. I'll just collapse, prostrate on the floor. That's the best decision. So what was yours? What was your kind of what the fuck moment?
It was sitting on the chair in this little house that we moved into. We were supposed to be in our honeymoon period, and fallen in love. And, we were doing the work that we thought we were born to do. And I was so freaked out. And yeah, I had no money. I was so freaked out. I could not deliver on a course that I had sold. And my whole body was shaking. And I was like, that's weird. I think this is a little bit more than stress. And then I realized that my heart was beating out of my chest and my left arm was hurting and my jaw was locked. I was like, oh.
Is that a myocardial infarction? Are you having a heart attack?
I'm seeing a constellation of symptoms that I think requires an escalation.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And so I asked my sister to drive me to urgent care because I was like, well, I can't pay for the ambulance. So I'm not doing that. I'll just wait for her. And if I'm dead,
I'll just die on the way.
Yeah. And we got there and they're like, how long has this been? Yeah, no, you have to go to the ER now. And my sister's like, okay, well, I got to go to work. So I'm going to drop you off.
With your arm frozen and whatever was going on. Yeah.
Over an hour of this at this point.
Oh my God.
And they were like, no, we're not equipped for this. We think you're about to die. You have to go to the ER right now. And I remember landing in the ER and the speed of escalation from them, I was like, oh, okay. So I'm not making this up. This isn't just stress. Okay. It was actually very relieving to watch the hospitals jump into action and then EKG and then this and then that. But what was really scary was within 24 hours, they refused to talk to me. They didn't want to stop my bed and check on me because the MRIs, the CAT scans, the EKGs, nothing made sense. And so I didn't get a diagnosis. There was nothing to cut out. There was no tumor. There was no heart attack. And they were they went from, oh my God, we got a live one here, interested and excited, because they wanted that dopamine hit and wanted to save a life, to your
outpatient.
Our resources. Yeah. I mean, we can't let you go because we can't explain what happened to you. So you're going to stay overnight for observation continually, which I had no insurance. This was my rock bottom moment. I remember pulling on my jeans, not bothering to take off the hospital gown and just walking out. I didn't check out. Nobody stopped me. They watched me go and they didn't stop me. And and Michael helped me out to the parking lot. And I remember thinking I was going home to die because they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
I remember thinking, what about my course deadlines? What about my this?
Oh,
that?
girl,
No money in my bank.
We don't ever get to rest. We can never rest. You're over here dying, talking about,
Yeah, what about my people?
what about this, my course? And yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I wish I could say that I got better from there quickly, but it didn't. I didn't get out of bed for 6 months. I wrote my goodbye letters many times in that time period.
But those goodbye letters, though, should be a reminder of just resilience, which is, I know, a big part of what you preach. Now, tell us more about your platform, because we haven't really explained exactly what it is.
Oh, yeah, what I do for a living?
Yeah, so outside of like selling...
you be listening to me at all.
This is why she's credible. So, yeah, tell us about Detox Nation. I know your business intimately well, and how many lives you've changed, that we're dealing with very severe chronic conditions that went undiagnosed or maybe overdiagnosed, or just people living in pain and sickness. And you have created a vehicle to turn that narrative around. So, and I think it's an extremely powerful story. Like, you guys were hearing the before, and now here's the after and the happening. Like, here's the right now. So tell us all about Detox Nation and your style of healing.
Well, we do root cause resolution. So we see our job as empowering people to be the CEO of their own health. And, we can be your guides and your navigators and your practitioners, but you're still driving your own bus. And what I want for anybody interacting with us, whether it's in our virtual practice, our clinic in San Diego, here in Carlsbad, or on our online campus, which is where most people see us, is for everything you learn from us to understand how to apply it to yourself. Oh, that's why I'm feeling this way. Oh, that symptom means this. Oh, I have control over it because I know what my body's trying to tell me, and I know these tools are available to me because of this training. I know when to dose up. I know when to dose down. And you should be using your practitioners as guides and navigators, but I don't ever want anybody to be in a position like I was, of like walking into a specialist office that you'd been on the calendar for 3 months. You get 10 minutes with them and you're saying, please fix me. And they're like, yeah, I don't know. Your labs look fine. So the fixing is never going to happen outside of you. The locus of control is within. So use us as your teachers, as your navigators, as your practitioners, as your support system. But the good and the bad news is it's all you, babe. You're the one that's going to make the food choices, take the pills, have better boundaries with people in your life that don't deserve your energy while you heal. You're the one that's going to pull out the Glade air fresheners. Yes, it does make a difference. Stop pissing off your immune system and your brain with that stuff. It matters. It's really irritating to you.
Girl, my mother-in-law child put one of those green trees in my car. What are they called? It's like the pine thing. I thought I was going to choke. Then I felt like such a princess because it didn't used to be an issue. But like back when I was growing up. But I was like,
right. Well, like, they're a lot more toxic now. Okay.
This is true. Toxins of yore, not the toxins of today. But but let's kind of we still have a few minutes. I want to kind of unpack your model, because there's a lot of practitioners who are listening who have always struggled with how to serve many. And part of your whole thing, you said when you were selling seashells by the seashore, you wanted to save the world. Okay, one puffy painted seashell at a time. And because that is exactly what made sense. But you still have that same mission for healing. And I know most of the time people come to you because they have gut stuff going on, or some sort of digestive disruption.
Inflammatory conditions.
Yeah, some definitely inflammatory conditions. And you've figured out a way to go from one to many. And I've seen you grow year over year to multi-seven figures, approaching 8 in a very, very short period of time, which just kind of proves how magnetic this movement is. In less than 5 years, you've reached, hundreds of thousands of people. So tell us about this whole group dynamic, groups and summits and all the things. You always talking to many people. I'm surprised you could talk with me. Like, how do you tolerate it?
Yeah, but you're like my favorite. So.
This is true. We could do this all day. But normally you're talking to like 200-300. So like, what's that like? Tell us for anybody who's aspiring for something like this, this model.
Well, you're not going to like my answer. I didn't like it either. So it still starts with the one-to-one practice. And I know it feels so frustrating to be trapped in this, dollars per hour model where it's just like this fast track to burnout when you don't have enough structure around to protect you as a practitioner and you're only being able to help one person at a time. And your heart is really telling you more people need you than that. And also you need to be able to scale your income to support your family. So I know it sucks, but you're still going to start there. And so you always start with one-to-one. And you need to sell in packages so that the people who work with you feel safe enough to step up and do the deep work because they're in. You don't want to be in a position of having to convince somebody when to come back to you for a 3-month or 6-month tune-up. First of all, it's too much pressure on you, and there's not enough responsibility on them to do work in between. So you don't see as good results. Your compliance is lower, and so your clinical outcomes are not as good, and therefore your people are not referral billboards for you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's better for them and it's safer for you if you sell in packages, so a few sessions at a time. And depending on your emphasis and your model and, your specialty, that might vary. It might be 30 days or 90 days or, 30 days would be weekly, 90 days would be every couple of weeks, 6 months would be, once a month. But this is going to give you the stability you need and the container they need to get consistent results. And in the beginning, you need a a pretend assistant that you're answering in somebody else's voice. I had I don't know, Jessica or Renee or something.
Yeah.
Something that sounded like a receptionist name. And she would be the bad guy. And then I would save those as templates for the executive assistant I would bring in. Wasn't really an executive assistant, it was a VA for a couple hours a month, and then a couple hours a week, and then a couple hours a day. So in the beginning, it is those packages, and then you translate the system that you're using in your packages into small group, where you're doing the same thing, but with 5 to 10 people at a time in person, but mostly online, even if they're all locals.
Yeah.
Because that way it's less of a stress for them to get to you when they're not feeling well anyway. So those are your training wheels in the beginning. And the things that you say all the time, like I still have a place in my chart notes for clinical gems. And if something falls out of my mouth that I know belongs in a course or needs to be said all the time, I'll write it down at the bottom and an assistant will scrape that out of the chart notes, once a week or once a month, depending. So that is how you build very, very slowly. You build one PDF at a time. This is the thing I always give out. Whether it's about food stuff or whatever, stop trying to build a group course too early before you have enough momentum to really understand and own and get guaranteed results. If somebody's showing up and doing the work, they can get a result from your method. If you're not there yet, you should not be doing groups.
Well, a lot of people out here try to start with groups, and I know that it's taking you. I know you run your groups, these cohorts of sorts, where there's a lot of people kind of working on, a similar body system, the liver, the gut, the gallbladder, the pancreas. She's got all kinds of body system courses. I said it so wrongly, but no, she's got this amazing brand of the rapid gut reset and rapid liver reset and all of these different mini courses of sorts, because they're not long. They're 6 to 8 weeks long, and people are moving through this healing experience in a group capacity, like hundreds of people at a time, kind of all setting the same intention to fix what's broken. And I think that is extremely powerful for those that are able to kind of create that experience in their own business. Don't you help practitioners with this? Like you don't mind giving away the sauce, right? You teach it.
Yeah. No, we have a practitioner mentorship. We call it Root Cause Practitioner Mentorship. We do it once a year. Yeah, I think it's essential to understand these skills to survive as a practitioner in this time. Clinically, what we all went to school to learn is no longer enough. And everybody from health coaches to surgeons is willing to admit that if you're paying attention right now, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But also the business piece, because you cannot afford to burn out. You have an ethical responsibility to build a business model that is sustainable for you. You cannot serve from an empty cup. You do not want to be me ending up in the hospital like, oh, I think my health issues finally deserve full attention.
Mm-hmm.
That's nobody deserves that. Um, so that's yeah, I'm happy to share that and train people, especially because it's such an urgent issue in our time.
Yeah.
But you asked about group stuff and how to um amass a large audience
Yeah, that's
quickly.
what you got. Yeah. I know you invest a lot in it, but you have a huge audience across multiple channels, which I'm so proud to watch you grow.
Thank you, babe. It's not an accident. It's relentless work. So don't go into magical going, I just want to go viral. And that's
It's
silly.
not that easy.
Grow up. It's about consistency and really delivering value. And it's a lot more work than you want it to be. And that's okay. It doesn't mean you're doing it wrong necessarily, but what I'm constantly reminding my team and all the practitioners that we're training up around us is it is not about you and it's not about the clinical pearl. It's about the experience that the audience is getting from you, from being with you.
Mm-hmm.
And all you want to do is get them into action, get them into taking the next step so it doesn't feel so insurmountable because they don't have a sorting mechanism for what their body needs and how to prioritize it. They have to build that. If you
Mm-hmm.
can help them build that within your specialty, then you will get a ton of loyalty. And nothing cuts through the noise like authenticity. So don't be chat GPTing like the top 10 things that arthritis people need to hear. Like don't do that. Talk to one person that needs to know it's going to be okay and they have more control than they know. And that is when you're going to get momentum. And that's when you'll get onto stages too. Show up and deliver huge value. Just give it away. You've
Mm-hmm.
got plenty more where that came from. And that's how I got into the summit circuit. I just showed up and said, this is what I can do to make you look good as the leader of this event because I know how much work that is. And this is what they'll walk away with. Instead of, hey, can you do me a favor? Do you know how many
Mm-hmm.
pitches I get that's so easy to ignore? Hey, can you do me a favor? It's just one podcast episode. It's just one email. It's just this. Like, stop asking, start offering. Here's how I can help you. Here's how I can help your audience. And that's how you'll build the audience quickly.
And speaking of building audiences, I know you got big plans for Detox Nation. What do you want to share with us? What's up next on the horizon for Detox Nation?
Well,
Is any of it shareable? I
there's
know.
nothing to talk about yet. That's not really a big deal. Yeah. So we are building a big stage that's going to help people to access the information that they're so desperately seeking in a whole
Yes,
new way.
yes.
That's all I can say about it.
Yes. And you're going to be back on the show once all of that launches so we can talk about it. But essentially, in the health space, especially for online businesses, hybrid models, Sinclair's Business Detox Nation is one to watch. I want you guys to run like hell to the show notes and just make sure I want you to follow her, watch her. She doesn't mind a little light stalking. I think we're all like, okay with that. But I want you to see this beautiful orchestra, this beautiful ecosystem of information that she is very intentionally sharing with her audience every single day. Truly, truly showing what it means to be resilient, both in her own personal health practice and in her business. And like I said, having had to rebuild it a few times and even over the last few years, like skyrocketed. Like it's been crazy to see this growth. Like Detox Nation is about to be a household name, and you would have heard it here too on this show. So, thank you for coming and hanging out with me today, Sinclair. You're the best. Can you tell us how to connect with you and find you and stalk you a little bit?
Yeah, you can come hang out with us on Instagram, then Sinclair Kennally, 2 N's, 2 L's. And Detox Rejuvenation is our handle there as well for our business. Detoxnation.com. And of course, our Detox Nation podcast. We'd love to have you listen and subscribe. So
Yes, thank you, my darling. She went all the way from selling seashells to having a multi-7-figure, almost 8-figure business, still remaining true to her mission to heal the
I'm gonna
world.
get the environmentalists coming after me.
So I know, right? Exactly. Like she was pulling.
I'm all about that non-toxic life now. I threw away that puffy paint a long time ago, guys.
Amen. See what happens when you just get it together, get the inflammation out your body. Look at you, girl. So I want to say thank you so much for hanging out with us. Make sure you go to the show notes so you can connect with Sinclair and the Detox Nation community. And make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast everywhere that podcasts are available and on YouTube as well. I will see y'all next week. Peace. Hey, y'all, thanks for tuning in to Power Moves Health Marketing Podcast. If you're ready to transform your practice with smarter strategies and cutting-edge tools, I want you to head over to microsite.com to book a strategy session with me and my team. While you're there, check out the show notes for links, resources, and my free Power Moves playbook. Remember, every move you make is a step toward becoming the health business leader you're meant to be. Let's keep building your momentum.